Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the English Prescription. We got Mr. Shane Jones. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to all of you.
Johnny.
Ho, ho, ho.
Good morning. We got a no laggy Johnny today, so it's gonna be great. And then today, dude, we're just gonna bring him in. He's already here. Scott Head. He is fishing the Super 60. He's no slouch to competition. He's fished Bassmaster back in the day, 2005, in the Western Opens. So we're talking a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about Super 60, and see what's going on with Scott. But first things first, Brian has some 2024 Hobie 180 drive PA 14s that are on a discounted price. So if you guys are in the market for that, hit him up. He's got a couple of them in stock up and ready. So if you're looking for a new Hobie, well, why not get it at a better price? Hookedforlife.com, save 10% off with Hooked 44. Unfortunately, Jay Shop and Ione closed last Sunday, but we'll be doing online sales from here on out. So you guys will support Jay and Becky for all they've done for us over the past few years. Stop by, order some tackle. Yeah, Scott. What? Is it me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Son of a gun. All right, Shane, get on with it. I'll be back.
All right. So, Scott, kind of introduce yourself to everybody.
All right. Scott Head, 2025 BAM Pro Tour Angler. Kind of rising from the ashes, per se. Also, full-time goose guide in Northern California.
That's sweet.
Yeah, and that's about it. I work construction when I'm not fishing and hunting, and I still have a regular job like everybody else, and just trying to get back out there.
Yeah.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
If you need to get a hold of me, direct message me on IG at Scott Head Fishing. And then for the goose guiding, you can reach me at kooutdoors.com or goose.hunting@yahoo.com. That's pretty much all of my outlets, or you can find me on Facebook at Scott Head.
Very good.
Very cool. So, so you've been in the fishing game for quite some time. So you said you're coming from out of the ashes. So is that just meaning you kind of were on the back burner for a while and now you're coming back into the game, or?
Man, it's kind of a long history. I started tournament fishing probably back in 1992.
Okay.
And the first tournament I actually ever fished was right here on the Delta. It was the KCBS 740 AM radio channel, Big Bass Challenge. Man, I don't even remember the year, but Bobby Barrick won it.
Mm-hmm.
And I showed up in a 12-foot Sears Game Fisher boat with a 5-horse Montgomery Ward's motor. And
Hey,
that was the first tournament I ever fished.
You got to do, right? I mean, we all got to start somewhere.
I had no business being out on the Delta in that boat, but my grandfather supported me, and you got to do what you got to do, right? So
yeah,
we survived, and we had a good time, and it was a learning experience, but that was the beginning of it. So did that, and then kind of graduated from there into, I started fishing the Hook series way back when Gene had this. Well, actually, Al had just sold the shop to Gene back in the day. And, a majority of the tournament anglers were running aluminum boat conversions, right? There was very few bass boats back then.
Yeah.
the old tracker, Bass Pro Shops boats were real popular back then, the old Rangers, that type of stuff, right? And
Yep.
then I had bought a boat I bought my first boat when I was 19. Continued team fishing for a few years, and then I jumped into 100% bass pro-ams, and that was way back when Ken Moss started fishing pro-ams as a pro.
Mhm.
And I jumped in as a co-angler just because, I'd been on the water at fish team tournaments. I just didn't really know how the pro thing worked. And I wanted to kind of figure out what the system was. So jumped in co-angler in 100% bass, fit that for one season. And then the following season, I jumped into the Bassmaster Opens and won the first one on the Delta as a co-angler. And I was fishing the 100% bass co-angler circuit at the same time, and never won anything on that shared weight pro format, and wanted to test my skills in the individual weight. And I had a good tournament, and got fortunate and won the first one. And that doesn't happen for everybody. And some guys never win; they fish all their lives, and I'd like to think it wasn't an anomaly, right? So I finished out that season. I had a bad tournament at Clear Lake, and then went to Shasta and had another bad tournament as a co-angler, but I actually qualified for the championship back in Louisiana. So went back to the Open Championship back in 2004 with a lot of West Coast, anglers. Greg Gutierrez was there. Just to name a few. I think John Murray. I mean, you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
a lot of old school anglers that some of them don't even fish anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, kind of jumped into the pro side of things, and figured out it was a little tougher there. Continued fishing and working, and started fishing some regional pro-ams, 100% bass. I fished a couple years in that. I think I took second in the Pro-Am Championship. Crutcher beat me by at the last second, won, what would have been my second boat, which I was, it stung a little bit, but he beat me. That's the way it was. Right. And then just jumped into the Bassmaster Opens from there. And that was, I believe, the last year they were here on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last year to qualify for the Elite Series. And I just missed that by not much. So, after that had happened, I kind of started fishing around here. Then the National Guards came up in 2007. And that was kind of like, hey, if I don't jump in this and fish it, it may not ever come around type of thing. Because my main goal was always to go back east and fish on tour.
Yeah.
As a kid growing up, from the West Coast, there wasn't we had the qualifiers back then, right? But, it's kind of come and gone over the years. And then 2007, the economy crash kind of put life into perspective. Had to kind of back off fishing a little bit, and decided that if I wanted to try to fish or pursue fishing at a higher level, I had to be a little more financially secure and kind of get things cleaned up in the background. Because if you're not focused on fishing when you're out there fishing, it's you probably don't belong there.
Sure.
If you're fishing scared, if you're worried about things at home, you got to have a good foundation no matter what, right? And that's kind of where I kind of took a step back. I fished the National Guards in 2007, and I had the worst season I ever had in my life. I went to Havasu, thought I found something, figured out real quick that those desert fish get pressured really fast, and things change really quick. Went to Columbia River, found out real fast that you don't go upriver too far, because when they shut the hydroelectric off and the water drops, it's hard getting back. I learned some things the hard way.
Did you get stuck there?
In Columbia River?
Yeah.
Well, I lost the lower unit about halfway up to the Hanford Reach. I went up in the morning. The water was high, and I was on good fish, and you got to go after them, right? So I went up there and kind of gambled everything, and when they stopped running, generating the power Saturday morning, right? During the week, they do that industrial power stuff, and then it kind of tails off on Saturday morning. Well, it was another aspect of hydroelectric that affects the fishery that I wasn't paying attention to, right? It's just another factor that if you go to a new fishery, you're not really looking for, and it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
There's stuff to learn everywhere you go, right? So, and then, from there I went to Clear Lake and I lost my trolling motor and just all around had a bad season. It was like the worst season of my life. And right then and there, I just kind of took a step back and my kid was starting to get into like teen fishing clubs and stuff like that. So I just decided to kind of take a step back, kind of think about professional fishing as a whole and where I wanted to go. And I kind of took a step back, focused on my kids, got them raised, got a couple kids through college. Now it's just me and mom at home. And so I'm kind of pursuing this semi-retirement thing. And it's time that, I can get out there and go fishing and think about fishing. And when Mark brought the Super 60 out and, the survey and all that kind of stuff, it kind of sparked my interest. And as time went on, I just kept thinking about it more and more and more. And then I decided, the fire is still there. I still want to fish, even though I'm 50, or close to it, right? I'm not quite 50 yet, but I'm getting close. I don't move around as fast as I used to, but I feel like I'm young. The fire is still there.
Yeah.
And I still want to get out there and compete. So everything kind of just fell into place. I decided to start my goose guide business last year. I started really pursuing it and just kind of working on what I'm going to do after retirement type of thing. And that's kind of where we're at. So that's kind of what brought it all to light, and one thing after another. And, here I am. I've had some physical stuff happen, and, I lost my hands. I had carpal tunnel real bad, like severe. And I just went through a couple surgeries. I'm in physical therapy right now. And, I'm getting to the point where I can feel my hands again and everything's working right. And, I'm not in pain anymore. And, I'm looking forward to, getting out there and competing again. And the whole forward facing sonar thing, man, that's all just an old dog right here.
Yeah. It's a game changer.
My last new boat, I think I think it was the LMS 480 that was like the hot new thing. We could get GPS out in the middle of the lake without having to use a buoy, I mean, I used to do empty soda bottles on fishing line just so, the rubberneckers wouldn't come by and scope out my orange buoys, right?
Yeah.
So, that kind of stuff. The technology is way advanced. To be honest with you, I'm coming into it with a 22-year-old boat, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm just, for the guys out there that, there was a time when I was fishing that I thought I had to have a new boat every year. And I didn't have a sponsor or anything like that. I wasn't paired up with a boat company. I just, in my mind, if I'm going to fish every year, I have to have a brand new boat. And, that's just not the case after I kind of stepped back and looked at things and kind of put it all in a simple perspective. You can get out there and compete and not have to run a $150,000 rig,
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, let's try to bring some of these guys out that maybe don't have a new boat, but, still want to go out and fish and kind of test their skills. Right. That's kind of where I'm at. I kind of revisited my fishing prowess. And I kind of, like to get people involved. And I do a lot of that with my goose hunt and guide business type of thing. I find that the older I get, I'm more into kind of mentoring people versus, trying to turn a blind eye or anything like that. I'm more into getting people involved. And I enjoy getting people out there, outdoors, organized. I do a lot of stuff with the youth anglers. I do a lot of stuff with the youth hunters. We do veterans hunts. We do women's hunts. We do single parent hunts that maybe a parent that has a child that doesn't have an opportunity to get out and go hunting, and they're not really confident or they don't know how to get started type of thing. So we do a lot of that mentoring type of stuff. And, I think coming into a tour of this magnitude on the West Coast, with some older equipment, hey, I'm right in the middle of a boat resto. You know what I mean? I got a
Yeah.
22-year-old Ranger. I've never been a fan of a Ranger boat. I've always been, more of a performance boat kind of guy. Not saying they're a bad boat, not knocking anybody at all. They're great boats, and a lot of people like them. And you know what? It's in my opinion probably one of the safest boats out there. It's one of the older Rangers. It's built solid. That thing's built tough. And I have no qualms about going out there. So that's all I'm saying is like, whatever preconceived notions you have about any boat or anything like that, as long as the trolling motor works and the motor runs, you're good to go.
Hey, you're telling that
That's
to
just-
3 guys that fish out of plastic boats. So no, we get you.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's
hey,
just like we had Austin Wilson on last week, and he fished out of a 90-something Ranger, no graphs, and he's winning tournaments back when it was the Wild West Apex. So, the same goes for the kayak guys. A lot of guys think they get timid because they see us that have 2 trolling motors on the kayaks and a graph or 2, or have live scope, don't have live scope, and they get intimidated by it. Well, you know what? If you know how to fish and you put fish in the boat, you don't need to be intimidated by it, because you
Yeah.
go out and do you. There's
Yeah.
there's no, the electronics don't make you the fisherman you are. It makes things easier, yeah. But sometimes you spend more time staring at fish that don't want to bite when you should be, if you didn't have that, you made 5 casts in that spot and off to the next,
Yeah. You still,
So-
even with those electronics, you still have to adapt. And if you don't know how to adapt,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
that's the great debate, right? I've been watching all the, even though I don't fish, I still follow along. I still watch all the tournaments online. I still stay up to date with what's happening. Kind of like lurk. You know what I mean? It's like I
Mhm.
kind of got more involved with the hunting because it kind of like it was almost emotional to watch the tournament stuff and not be able to participate. It's like I'm pretty passionate about it. Like, it like if I have a good tournament, right, you'll probably literally see me cry just because I'm passionate about it, man. It's what I live for,
Yeah.
I live for the outdoors. And to be honest, there was a time when I thought I probably loved to hunt a little bit more than fishing. But, when the tournament thing came around, that's, we get older. We can't play sports like we used to, right? But I can still get in a bass boat, and I can still go, or even a kayak or a rubber raft or even a float tube, man. I still actually, I have a little lake over here in Antioch, close to where I live here. And, some locals will know about it, but a little lake called Lake Alhambra, shoot, I'm 49 years old, man. And I still go jump my buddy's backyard fence and go jump in that lake and go float tube every chance I get, man. If I get a chance to,
Yeah.
So, but,
What circuit fishing this year?
I'm just going to focus on the Super 60 this year. I'm thinking about fishing the Pro-Ams, but the only issue with that is, January is the last weekend of hunt season. So, if I'm scheduled out to hunt, then I'm going to go hunt. I got to take that guaranteed money. But if, I have a break in my schedule, I definitely would like to go fishing, because everybody that knows me, when I start hunting in the wintertime, right about mid-January, I start thinking spotted bass. And then, actually my nickname is Spotted Bass. Like everybody that really knows me, they'll call me up. Hey, good morning, Spotted Bass. You about ready to take off, drop all your hunting gear and go fish Orville or something? I'm like, yeah, you know it, man. You know I am. Delta gets
Yeah.
pretty tough
Nice.
down here in the wintertime.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Orville, you got any tips if any of these guys are wanting to make a trip up there, haven't been there before, or will have limited time up there? You got any tips for this time of the year? Give a little, not really a fishing report, but
I love Orville, and I'll tell you, I it's hard for me to get away from the main lake. It seems like it produces pretty much year round, and if it's not, you don't have to go too far to find some fish, right? So, tips for Orville would probably be, well, this is a tip for anywhere really. And I talked to, I think I talked to you the other day. We were kind of chatting it up a little bit. I like to fish, near the launch sites, near the off limits. In some situations, right? Like, if you're going up there and you're just going out fun fishing, like you can launch at Bidwell Marina right there. And, even if you're on a kayak, you can spend all day in there and catch fish. There's spots in there where you can't go fish in a tournament, obviously, if it's off limits, right? That, there's good fish in there.
Yeah.
Never discount the main lake at Orville. And, I don't know. The old standby. I'm a when I get on those spotted bass lakes, I just like throwing a jig.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of addicting, that old
Yeah.
thump of a good jig bite.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
I have, however, caught frogfish, spotted bass on Orville on frogs that have culled out largemouths.
That's crazy.
That's an actual fact. So I don't recommend throwing a
crazy.
frog on Orville, but you can catch them under certain conditions.
Yeah.
So,
man,
Wouldn't that be
That's
funny? Come out while everyone's throwing A-rigs, jigs, whatever. You come into a tournament and you win. Yeah, I was just throwing frogs all day on spotted bass lake. That'd be crazy.
I've had it happen. Back in 2010, me and my old tournament partner Ryan White, he actually fished the Apex, I think, back in the inaugural year. I think he was one of my old tournament partners, and we were a staff team for National Bass West. They tried to come up north and make a footprint, and it didn't hold. But we had, I want to say, we had a few tournaments in that circuit that we had, well over 15 pounds. And one of them was one of those spotted bass that I caught on a frog.
Wow.
Had a 3.5 pound spotted bass on a white and yellow frog, Bobby Barrick perfect frog. Threw it up it was just obviously there's no grass in Orville, right?
Yeah.
But you get up in the back of those creeks where you got a little bit of crud floating when the water's going down, right? And you get the right conditions, that they will eat a frog.
That's crazy.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to think out of the box. But
yeah,
I won my first pro-am on Lake McClure on a 8-foot flip stick with 65 pound test braid on a half-ounce double buzzer.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's
it's outside of the box, man. That's
outside the box. You just never know. Sometimes you get your rods, broken, and other times you come out looking like a hero,
Yeah.
So
That's what happens when Crocco pulls out his Barbie pole when he comes into these tournaments.
The Spider-Man works better. Yeah, it's a Spider-Man pole. That and the little frozen one.
Rod.
Little frozen rod.
Absolutely.
You got to throw the frog on the frozen. You punch with Spider-Man, dude. You can't beat it.
You never know.
So so the Super 60 is a whole different format than you're used to fishing. What are you looking forward to about that?
I'm sure I'm going to take some lumps on that whole Turning X thing. I've been reading about it, and obviously I watch, right? But I'd probably have to. I'm probably going to have to switch gears a little bit, because I'm definitely one of those anglers that will go out and, if I know I can get 5 bites on a certain bait, I'll throw it all day long and won't put it down. I live or die. Once I make a decision, I live or die. And sometimes that's not the way to do it in this format, right? So, and anybody that knows me from back in the day, I've been accused of being a power fisherman just because I like topwater. It's just one of my things. I will throw topwater in February if I think it's going to work. You know what I mean? But I actually, I've busted a 30-pound bag on the Delta on 6-pound test line on a spinning rod with a shaky head before too. So I'm not afraid to whip out. I like dart heads. You know what I mean? I like to be versatile. I've lived on the Delta all my life, but I've never tried to claim to be a Delta rat. I always have tried to get up on the lakes, because my goal was always to go back east and go fishing. Now we have the Super 60 tour out here. I don't have to spend the money to drive out there. I don't have to take the time off work. I don't have to leave my boat in a storage yard for a month and 3 weeks and fly back and forth. The entry fee is a little bit less, right? I'm not taking as much time off, so I get to focus on fishing close to home on a tour level. And I hope, and it looks like everything's heading in the right direction. So it definitely brought me out of the woodwork. There was a time 6 months ago or so when I just about bought a new boat, and I'm looking at the wife going, why would I spend 85,000 base on a new boat just to go out and go fun fishing? The boat I have is just fine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ever going to tournament fish again. So why would I just go buy a new boat to have a fun fishing boat? That it just, didn't really make sense financially. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So are you thinking more towards keeper count now? Is that kind of what you're curious about? Or are you still going to go for, weight wise? Because they do a little bit of both. I mean, your 5 fish that you catch on that one bait might be the right 5, but like you said, you got to kind of keep in the back of your head the keeper count. Have you kind of
which,
figured how you're going to attack that yet, or are you going to go fishery by fishery for the most part?
yeah, I think it's a situation by situation, right? I mean, honestly, I think this whole format, probably one of the best things about it is they give you 2 different ways to get in there, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So there's a couple different ways to develop a strategy, but honestly, I think no matter what the format, no matter what lake you go to, no matter who fishes it, it's always about who makes the best adjustments the quickest and adapts to what's happening. So, if you get to a lake and you're doing something you like to do and you're catching bigs, you know what I mean? Why worry about keepers, right? If we can go in there and catch 5 fish, you're good on weight. Why go burn them up, right? Go catch 5, get out of
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
Or if you can't catch those 5 fish that you want, but you can go catch a bunch of keepers. Well, then you're just gonna have to weed through the keepers, to make sure you get in that way. It's kind of a case by case thing. At least
Mhm.
that's kind of, I'm running over scenarios in my head. I haven't actually got to fish in the pressure cooker, as I kind of call it, right? I mean, I watch the Tourney X, and you can kind of see what's going on, and you know what I mean. I haven't had to fish under that pressure yet, so that's going to be a new thing for me.
Yeah, make sure too, man. Like if you haven't done it yet, I know you've measured fish your whole life, I'm sure, but some about, I don't know if they're too strict on hand placement. I don't remember if that was in the rules or not, but keeping them on the catch board, getting a good photo of it does,
Yeah.
if
I
you
think
haven't
as
done it
long as
before,
they,
yeah, 'cause I mean, just as far as getting the photo right, you know what I mean? Like I would probably practice that. I did that a lot before I started fishing kayak tournaments, learning how to do,
yeah.
get the fish right and whatnot.
Yeah.
You just gave me a really good idea. I'm gonna go hit up Verizon for a sponsorship. Give me some better phone service.
Oh.
Well, you might want to throw Starlink in that too, because
Right?
I
Just
have Verizon, and you go to McClure, no internet.
yeah,
You go to some of these lakes, there's no service no matter what. But
yep,
No, I know they
Mhm.
have provisions for that. I know within the rules if there isn't service or you don't have
Yeah,
to have it uploaded right away. I can't remember exactly what you had a certain amount of time or if it was by the end of the tournament, a certain amount of time. Like I'm sure it's written down in the rules, but I know that was an
yeah,
issue when they fished Trinity. That was a huge issue. Almanor may or may not be an issue.
Yeah. Each
yeah. I'm
lake.
not familiar with Almanor at all. Yeah, so
Are you gonna planning on doing some pre-fishing prior to the 30 days off limits? Are you gonna just roll with it, go off history, or what research you do?
I haven't made that decision yet. I'm in the heat of goose guiding right now. I'm sitting here trying not to rub my eyes too much, man. I've been up north for 2 weeks. I just got home actually yesterday, so and then I was out driving around looking for birds all day today. So uh, I don't recommend being a goose guide, by the way. Um, you have to love it because it's probably more than a job.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
um, I'm sorry about that, man. I completely got off track on that last one there.
Yeah. Now, are you planning on doing some? I don't know if you want to call it pre-fishing or
Oh,
pre-scouting
yeah.
or
I'm going to try to get up there. Like I said, I'm right in the middle of boat resto, so I got an older boat, and I'm tearing all the carpet out. I'm going to try to sea deck everything, and I'm not going to get crazy with my electronics. I'm just going to run, probably 9-inch, couple 9-inch graphs, and I'm gonna get out there and go fishing. I've never been to Pedro, never fished it in my life. Uh,
okay.
I fished McClure twice in my life. I went camping there years and years ago, and then I ended up fishing a pro-am there 8 years after I went camping there, and I never even pre-fished the event. The only reason I went there is because I had a buddy that was fishing as co-angler, and he called me up one day and he says, "Hey man, I'm leading the points as a co-angler, and they're short one boat. Can you come up and fish?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I'll run up there after work on Friday. I'll be up there." And I ran up there and fished the tournament. And the only knowledge I had on McClure was, we went camping up there and we found a little cliff we were jumping off of with the kids way back in some cove. And my kid had tied on a little Senko or something on probably a Spider-Man rod and fired it out there and forgot about it. And all of a sudden there's this 3-pound largemouth jumping around out there. I'm like, "Oh my God, hey bud, you got a fish, go get your pole." And I'm like, well, if there's largemouth in McClure, right, then it's a spotted bass lake. I'm gonna go catch largemouth if I can, and that's what's up. And I went in there with a buzz bait, and man, I think I caught 100 fish that day. And the co-angler that I drew was the guy that my partner was tied with for first place.
No, jeez.
In the points, and then I ended up winning the tournament, and my co-angler ended up winning Angler of the Year, and I knocked my buddy out, right? I mean, what are the odds of all that, right? But
Yeah.
it gets sticky sometimes.
You still friends?
I bet he wished he had not made that phone call.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't have fished, right? So he still came in second, so at least you got a check, right?
Yeah.
But that was so back to the point. Yeah, if I get my boat running in time, I'll go up and take a look at Don Pedro. If I don't, I'm not going to worry about it, man. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to put the motor down. I'm going to put the trolling motor down, and I'm going to go fish, and I'm going to try to make quick decisions and do what I do. And at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I don't get hung up on the past too much anymore. I just the older I get, the more I appreciate time, and I'm more confident in what I'm doing. So
Nice. So Pedro and the next one, man, I know I've talked about the schedule a handful of times.
Mojave, I believe.
Okay. Have you fished there before?
No, sir.
Okay. So good. Two lakes to start off with you haven't been to.
I love it.
Be interesting. Yeah.
I love it. I can't wait.
And
No practice. Never been there. Can't wait.
And the format too does lend to a guy like you that hasn't been there or doesn't get a chance to get out and pre-fit or pre-practice. Because there's no 30 days off limits. Even if you went out 32 days before the tournament, things are going to change.
Yeah.
Well, and that's I think that's the whole basis of the off limits, right? And it really does force you to fish your instinct, or it really does force the person who makes the best decisions, who breaks it down the fastest, to come out on top, right? But then it gives you two avenues to do that, right? So that's I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, it's not a format that I'm used to fishing, and we're going to a couple of lakes that I've never been to. But let's see, after that, where are we going? I think Boardman. I've been to Columbia River, but I've never been to Boardman. I fished in the Tri-Cities area, and that particular tournament that I fished, the guys that were running down to Boardman and Locken, it was a pretty tough deal. So I've never actually been down on that piece of the river, and I don't know. I haven't really looked at all the details yet, but I don't know if I'll even have to try to run up past that or anything. You know what I mean? So like I said, I haven't even really looked at any of the fine details yet. I'm so deep in goose guiding right now. And I'm trying to wrap all this stuff at the same time. Sleep is something that's not a priority at the moment.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
it'll come.
One day.
Yeah, right. One day. Finally, when you're ready to retire. And then probably not. But yeah, so what you're, they call you a power fisherman. So if you show up to, what do you think? No, I don't want to get into that. I don't want you to say that. So like, are you gonna look for specific? I just lost my train of thought, dude. I'm sorry. I'm with you on the no sleep thing.
You like to sleep too, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah. dude, I just totally derailed that. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Anyway. So you're getting ready to come back out, right? You're getting your boat together. How far off are you from getting that thing floating back on the water?
At the moment, I'm tearing carpet out, and I just stripped the second console out because I'm not a big fan of two consoles. And I'm gonna sea deck it, and then I'm gonna start. Once I get it sea deck, then I'll go get it wrapped, and then we'll start putting electronics and all that type of stuff on it. So I'm probably
Okay.
I'm probably a good month out still.
Okay.
So
You got a little bit of time.
you got a little bit of time. I'm working
Yeah.
on some sponsor deals, stuff like that. That was one thing back when I fished. Back in the day, I was more of a kind of like stay away from the dock talk, stay away from everybody type of thing. I would just show up and fish, and I'd just do my own thing. I didn't really associate with anybody. Um,
Yeah.
I just was kind of the quiet one, and nowadays I've been kind of figuring out the whole business thing, and it takes a lot of networking and a lot of communication, and even with the Goose Guide thing, I have big partners in the industry that help us out, and I talk to them every week and a half, 2 weeks, right? And it's the level of communication and maintaining those partnerships is something that I've kind of keyed in on a little bit more as I've gotten a little older with my career. I'm a manager at work, and I have to deal with schedules and vendors and subs and deliveries and all that type of stuff. And it seems like the more you kind of take on in life, the more you mature, that type of stuff. Some guys are just born with that stuff, right? Other guys like us have to work hard to get it. But just kind of learned how to maintain those relationships and initiate, right? Build and maintain. I think there's platforms.
Yeah.
And then when you start getting into chasing sponsor dollars, right? That's a whole nother thing. And it's not easy. It's not easy in today's game, especially for, an older guy like me. I was never really hip to that, and kind of trying to flip all that around. I've tried to educate myself a little bit more and be a little more, in tune with what's happening in the social media world and that type of stuff. So that's a whole nother aspect that I'm not used to either, right? It's not, the social media thing has changed everything so much. Back in the day, you could be a good fisherman, yell at people, kind of be a little arrogant, and things would show up in the mail, and people would still talk with you. It ain't. You get sponsors, and it's not like that now. You need to be more of a businessman. Kind of watch what you do on and off
Yeah.
the water, and networking has been a real big thing for me this last year. Like I said, networking and mentoring has been kind of really positive. It's kind of been carrying the momentum. Things have been building. I got a lot of stuff going on. We're working on big things on the guide thing, and just trying to keep everything going. So yeah, you'll most likely see a very hunting influenced wrapped boat out there.
I gotcha.
So
So, I mean, if you had one piece of advice for a young angler trying to get into sponsorship game, what piece of advice would you give them on how to go out and pursue their first, say, sponsor?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be watch what you do on social media. And then my second piece of advice would be, don't expect anything, right? You got to go out and
Hmm.
build relationships, and these sponsors, they want to see you out there working. They want to see you out there interacting with the public. You got to be engaging, right?
Yeah.
And communication is a really big one. Um,
What's
I,
your
I
what's your Oh, go ahead.
I just was going to say I have a couple of sponsors that I've had for a long time, and even when I didn't fish, right, I'd go check the mailbox, man. I get a little box of lures, like, hey, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Still thinking about me, still sending me stuff, still keeping me in the loop, man. I really appreciate that type of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so it just like Roger Haas over at Pro Point Fishing Lures, longtime friend and sponsor. And I was fishing the CTT Pro-Ams back in 16, 17, when my kid had kind of graduated to the upper level of the high school fishing type of stuff. I wanted to get him involved with some actual Pro-Am type things. So I fished the CTT as a pro. I kind of came back and fished as a pro with the shared weight format. And then my son fished as a co-angler for 2 years. I paid his entries and gave him his co-angler gas money and that type of stuff. Cause he was doing well. And actually, there's another angler that, in the high school fishing circuit that my kid, it always seemed like it was him and my kid that was just neck and neck all the time. And that's Luke Johns.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had Luke
So
on the other day.
yeah, Luke Johns is absolutely killing it. That dude is doing it. I mean, talented, well-spoken, on and off the water. And, it's for a young angler out there. Yeah. Just be passionate about it. Treat every situation like somebody is always watching. That's you know what I mean? And then the other thing is, be willing to help. Be willing to help your fellow angler. I think, networking, and that's a lot of what I, see on this DAM tour, right? There's a lot of positive things going on. So.
And I think one thing too, saying, watch what you do on your social media, but also be yourself. You don't want to be the phony you. You want to be you.
Well, yeah, and I
and
just had.
it's hard. It's hard to do. I mean, I've filmed myself fishing and done videos, and I don't know, dude. Like, it's a hard thing to do because like your interaction with people, like for me, like really brings out me. You know what I mean? I don't know how to
Right.
explain that other than that. Like, so it's kind of hard. Like some of my best content I've gotten is I'll be out fishing, say I'm out having a fun day fishing, and I'll be on the phone with a buddy of mine, and we're just talking back and forth, and I'm talking to him. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm struggling, and we start breaking the lake down, and then it's like, you guys can't hear what he's saying because he's on the earbud, but you hear your brain starts going more and more, and that seems to sometimes be like the best content that I can, I've done it over time. It's just I don't get it.
Natural in the moment, maybe, right? Comfortable, not thinking about the camera being on you, because I've done a couple media skits here recently. I did one for Braybeck Buzzbaits, and just to kind of break down how I like to throw that buzzbait, right? It's kind of a specialty thing. I don't throw a buzzbait like per se a normal person, right? You get a buzzbait, you take it out of the package, and you throw it on a Thule point. And go, oh man, that bass should be eating that thing. I'm looking behind the Thule point, and if I can get that blade to turn 3 or 4 times, and I know there's a big fish back there, then I'll risk losing a lure or breaking a rod. You know what I mean? It's just there's a whole other aspect, in everything you do, right? So yeah, just talking in front of the camera and trying to create content versus feeling natural and being yourself. It's a whole other role,
For sure.
So.
Yeah, I had one sponsor. I called him and I talked to him. And he goes, "What's your Facebook?" And I told him, and he looked, "Okay, you're in. As long as you didn't have anything political, I'm good with that." So I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot of things that you think's okay, but can be not okay. So, he was more like, someone's there talking, politically about stuff, which a lot of people do. They voice their opinions and stuff. But that goes for everything too. You could put something inappropriate in there. You think it's funny, but to someone else, it's just inappropriate.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing too. Is once it's on the internet, it's on the internet, right? And it's we all do dumb things sometimes, man. But I think probably for most of us here, the internet wasn't around, right? So it's a whole other culture now, right? So, but yeah, for the young angler, it's like anything and everything, you got to watch what you do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, having a YouTube channel and Instagram and Facebook, they almost all of them require you to have something like that too. So,
And that's
Yeah.
yes. And if you don't think they look, that's probably another mistake, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep. What's your take on the whole pro staff thing?
man, that's a kind of a loaded question. It goes back. I mean, you can go on any
Uh-huh.
forum and chase that one for years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, would you recommend said young angler to go for that and see if it'll turn into something else? Or would you say, and remember, guys, you're not going to go get a sponsorship deal for having 500 followers on Facebook or Instagram, right? It's going to take more than that, and it's going to take a lot more work than that. But I mean, would you steer them away from it? Would you recommend that path to get your foot in the door? I mean, let's go with that part of it.
I think the biggest thing is you have to be very passionate about what you're doing, right? And then you have to be genuine, right? If you're out there trying to chase a sponsor, hey buddy, I like your stuff online. It really looks good. Could you, hook me up with some of that? And then I'll get back to you and let you know. No, they see that all day long and they don't even look at it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more about building a personal relationship, right? That you got to get out there. You got to kind of meet people. You got to be active. You got to be willing to help, volunteer, right? Put your time in, and nothing's free, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's free.
Yeah. Buy their equipment, buy their lures, and then talk to them and say, hey, I use your lure, blah, blah, blah. I really like this about it. Maybe do this to it, and for someone that's going to sponsor you, I mean, I'd rather hear them say that than, hey, can I have some freebies? You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's the thing,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah.
Do you know my product, right? Have
Right.
you even had any experience with it, or are you just trying to get free stuff, right? Because if that's all
Right.
you're trying to do and you're not going to buy anything anyway, why would I even waste my time with you?
Exactly. You don't even know what I have.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Test it out. See if you like it. If you don't like it, try something else. Try some
And
somebody
not,
else products.
yeah. And like a lot of times too, I think guys get on pro staff, they may have thrown like two of their bait. Well, they've got a whole bait lineup. I mean, is it worth going to this pro staff to have those two baits, but then you're required to throw say it's like a craw and I don't know, like a creature bait, but yeah, you don't like their swim baits, you don't like their stick baits, you don't like whatever else it is, right? Like you're gonna pigeonhole yourself to where you need to throw those products, even though you might not be comfortable with it, you might not like them. So those are all things you gotta think about too when you're trying to enter into these pro staff, and it's a lot of work, dude. It's a lot of work for a little return.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could say that is definitely the deal, right? And I had this discussion the other day with another
Yep.
pro angler. Just trying to get your foot in the door and prove that you're just not that guy that wants some free stuff, right? You got to
Yeah.
figure out a way to make yourself more visible, more valuable, and an asset.
Yep. For
That
sure.
I don't know how else to say it, right? There really is no rhyme or reason, right? Everybody has their own way of navigating other people and relationships, and if you're, I think the only main thing is just be genuine. Know about the product, be genuine, build relationships, right? If you're using the product and you use it long enough, and you're active in the industry or the community at least, right? Don't walk around with your hand out. Just it's more or less kind of do what you say what you do.
And I think a big thing too is you gotta know what you're worth, right? Like if you know that you're getting, and this is one thing I've heard from someone which we will have on and really take a deep dive into sponsorship stuff. But like your time isn't free either, you know. So
Well,
if you do have a good following and you do have a good outreach, don't just settle for whatever, right? Like, know that if you're committing to doing 3 posts a week, putting out a video every week on YouTube, and doing X, Y, and Z, know what that time takes, and know what your time is worth to you, and know your value to where when you do go to these companies and say, "Hey, I'm willing to do X, Y, and Z, and this is what it'll take for me to do that," and they're either tell you yes or no, right? I think it's
Well,
a
and that's
big part too.
yeah, and I mean, I don't want to call it. Well, I mean, as everybody knows, with anything that you succeed in, nothing's easy, and nobody succeeds 100% of the time. You know what I mean? We all deal with failure every day. It's just how you handle it, right?
Yep.
So don't be afraid to present yourself in a way that you're not going to get. It's like I said, I tell people, I just had this conversation the other day, I wouldn't say anything to you in front of you that I wouldn't say if you weren't in the room, right? I mean, that's just
Yeah.
kind of a simple way of putting it, right? Just be genuine, be yourself, be passionate, and absolutely know your worth, right? Because there's a lot of that out there. Why should I pay this guy when I could get 45 of those guys to go buy my jersey and wear it? You know what I mean?
And when I say you know your worth, but also know your value, right? You need to look at your analytics. You need to present that in a way to where you could show the company, this is my value to you. This is what I can provide you on a weekly basis. This is what I can provide on a monthly basis or whatever. So that way you're not just going in there and say, "Hey, I'll do X, Y, and Z for you, but I want this much money." No, they want to know why you're going to charge them this or ask for this. And like I said, the analytics is going to be a huge part of that.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
two,
go
you
ahead.
could get non-fishing sponsors, meaning you could have a gas sponsor, you could have a clothing sponsor, you could have a guy that works on cars, sells tires. It doesn't have to be
Hmm.
very specific. And actually,
Yeah.
those ones that aren't very specific where it comes to fishing are actually more willing to bring you on, test you, see what they get out of you, compare the two. What did he do? How much did it cost me, and so on. And those actually are the better sponsors because they're actually more willing to give up product and more willing to give up money and help pay for things compared to the fishing part of it. So, I mean, don't
Yeah.
forget the fishing is important, except for, if you could get like Chevron, I'm just making an example. Chevron sponsor you, $100 a month on fuel. Well, that's $1,200 in fuel in a year that it's not coming out of your pocket, and basically all you got to do is have a Chevron sticker and say you buy your fuel from Chevron, and then, or if they want you to, like you were saying, weekly, monthly, do, so many things per day or per week, per third day or whatever it is, I mean, their requirements,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
that's part of the, basically the job description. And it is a job, to make it work, you got to make it into a business, into a job.
Yeah, that just goes back to that nothing's free thing, right? I mean, even if you're getting a discount on product, right? They're going to expect something.
That's right.
So
Yeah. Yeah. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised on how many, like farmers around here. I live where there's a bunch of farmers, and I talked to a few of them. And they're like, "Here, I need a write-off. Here's a bunch of money. Don't put my name on your boat. Don't do anything. Just here." And they're happy with that. To them, it's just instead of giving it to Uncle Sam, they're giving it to you.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of other people out there that very willing to help you out. You just have to go about.
one of my best sponsors back in the day when I was really fishing was a construction company.
Oh yeah.
I actually had a $30,000 a year budget. That was for clothes, gas, motel, entry fees, whatever I wanted to use it for. They just wrote me a check. So,
Right.
Yeah. And and then, like I said, the fishing companies, right? You got to work a little harder for the fishing companies because
Yes,
they're in the business.
Yeah.
They understand, right? The non-endemics, like you're saying, right? Yeah. I was just actually, I've been kind of educating myself a little bit more on this whole subject, right, all the way around. And I was just, I don't know, I watched, I think it was a YouTube video on a guy who talks about going after non-endemic sponsors and how they're more apt, like your local dentist office, right? You go in there, you go to an office and you see they sponsor a bunch of sporting events, right? Local regional sporting events, right? Hey, I'm a local angler. I fish tournaments. Would you be interested in sponsoring me? And I'll put your name on my jersey, type of thing, right? And he's not wrong. It
Nope.
just goes back to that. Hey, you got to go out there and kind of dig that stuff up, right? You got to work for it
Right.
one way or another.
Yeah, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of people willing to give you the money instead of Uncle Sam, basically.
Oh, for
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, youth
Well,
groups.
speaking of sponsors,
Go ahead.
oh, go ahead. No, go for it, John.
Well, youth groups, the people that have kids and stuff that have businesses. Some youth group comes up and says, "Hey, you want to sponsor?" It's an immediate yes.
Right.
You don't have to. What do you want me to buy all the trophies, all the uniforms? I'll buy all that. And I'll give you a little bit of money to travel if it's travel softball or whatever.
Right.
And they're very willing to open their pocketbook up and help people out. The youth group, especially. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, speaking of all the sponsor talk, Scott, who do you got on board for next year or this year coming up?
2025 is going to be pretty exciting. Right now, what I've got locked up is Hardcore Waterfowl. They're a premier partner on my guide side of the business, and they really help us out. And I've got a really good partnership with those guys. Talk to them all the time. They're really helpful. They want to know what's happening out west with the hunting scene. Actually, I think a film crew is coming out. Well, they're going to try to get a film crew out. They're tight on schedule, but and then Braybeck Buzzbaits is a longtime sponsor. Roger over at Pro Point Fishing Lures, great guy, super innovative with his newer baits. With the forward facing stuff. The Machete Minnow just came out not too long ago. That's a great bait. And then Whitewater Fishing, Bahio Sunglasses. Melinda and the crew over there at Bahio Sunglasses have been excellent. They help us out on the hunting side as well. OV Cornhole, California Cornhole Association, and 5 Exons is a nonprofit. Duchenne's, it's a very rare disease in kids, and and they're fighting for a cure. So it's a really important cause. A good friend of mine, his grandson has come down with that, and they're fighting that battle right now. So we're doing everything we can to raise awareness and charity for that outfit as well. So
Okay. Cool. Well, bud, we wish you the best of luck this season.
Yeah, we'll be watching for you.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
maybe
looking
hit you
forward to
back
it.
up. Hit you back up middle of the season, kind of get a mid-season update recap from you and see how things are going. And yeah, dude, I don't know how much you guys heard me when I came on my stupid internet, but Headwaters has a couple PA14 180 drives. It's a 2024 model on discount right now. So if you guys are looking for one, head up there or give him a call. The shop is closed on Tuesdays now, so he's open Wednesday through Saturday in Rancho or in Reading. The Rancho store is open Tuesday through Saturday. So if you guys are looking for your new ride for next year, there you go. Up in a nice PA 14 180 and slap some motors on it and call it good. So next
Appreciate
week
you
we're
guys.
not
Thank
doing
you.
a show. Yeah, next week no show. The week after no show. We'll be back on the 7th of January with Michael Bray and then another guest. We got to nail that one in, but we're going to go over the new BAM schedule for the kayak side and see what's going on in the world of Bray. The following week, the 14th, we're gonna have we got some exciting news, but we're also gonna have Thomas Kanemoto from P-Line on. And then the 28th of January, we have Kevin from Bioenno. So if you guys got your battery questions, kind of think of what you might want to ask him. Have a battery guru on and kind of go over what the needs and the wants you guys might want on your kayaks or your boats, and get them powered the right way. So that's what we got coming up. And guys, I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we will catch you all in 2025.
Yeah. Good luck next year, Scott.
Thank you very much.